HPE7-A02 exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. An AOSCX switch is configured with user-based tunneling (UBT) to connect endpoints to two HPE Aruba networking gateways that use VRRP on the user VLAN. How does the switch handle forwarding of tunneled user traffic toward the gateways? A. It always sends traffic to the VRRP master. B. It always sends traffic to the primary gateway defined in the UBT configuration. C. It load balances traffic across both gateways simultaneously. D. It always sends traffic to the gateway that is currently active as the default gateway. The answer is D. With UBT in an AOSCX environment, user traffic is tunneled to the active VRRP gateway. The switch does not perform load balancing between gateways. Instead, VRRP ensures high availability by designating one gateway as active and the other as standby. The AOSCX switch follows that state and forwards tunneled user traffic only to the active VRRP master gateway. While reviewing HPE Aruba Networking Central, you see an alert under Security Greater Than Rapids for an infrastructure attack with the event type Detect ad hoc using valid SSID. What is the most appropriate next step to investigate this potential threat? A. Adjust the detection threshold since this type of alert often results in false positives. B. Verify that client devices have updated wireless drivers, since outdated drivers can generate this event. C. Use central floor plans or detecting AP information to help physically locate where the rogue device is operating. D. Search for the offender's IP address in central client lists to confirm whether it is active on the network. The answer is C. The Detect ad hoc using valid SSID alert indicates that a client is broadcasting an SSID matching a valid WLAN, which can be a security risk, rogue or misconfigured device. The best response is to locate the source using Aruba Central's floor plans or AP data. While false positives and driver issues may happen, immediate security best practice is physical location and validation before tuning thresholds or dismissing the event. An organization uses HPE Aruba networking switches and gateways with ClearPass Policy Manager (CPPM) for client authentication. The security team also wants CPPM to maintain information such as client IP addresses and network usage. Which configuration on the infrastructure devices is required to provide this data to CPPM? A. Configure logging with CPPM as a syslog server. B. Enable dynamic authorization in the radius settings for CPPM. C. Enable radius accounting to CPPM, including interim update messages. D. Configure an IF-map interface with CPPM as the destination. The answer is C. To allow ClearPass Policy Manager (CPPM) to track client session information such as IP address and bandwidth utilization, the infrastructure devices must send radius accounting records. Enabling interim updates ensures that session data is refreshed periodically instead of only at start/stop events. Syslog and IF-map do not provide client usage, session details, while dynamic authorization relates to COA change of authorization, and not session accounting. An organization is deploying a zero-trust security model using HPE Aruba Networking ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, together with ClearPass Device Insight, CPDI. How does this integration strengthen security? A CPPM can notify CPDI of the Aruba user role assigned to a client, and CPDI can use that to reclassify the device. B. CPDI can tag devices using prohibited applications and share that data with CPPM, which can then instruct the network to quarantine those devices. C. CPPM can provide CPDI with custom device fingerprint definitions to improve visibility. DCPDI can provide CPPM with additional device context, allowing CPPM to enforce the correct identity-based policies. The answer is D. ClearPass Device Insight, CPDI, is focused on device discovery and classification, IoT, medical, and unmanaged devices. When integrated, CPDI shares rich device context with ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, which then applies identity and role-based policies for zero-trust enforcement. The workflow is classification right-pointing arrow policy enforcement. Options AC describe partial or incorrect roles. The key benefit is CPDI right-pointing arrow CPPM information flow for zero-trust access control. An organization uses OSCX switches with ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, for network access control. The company requires switches to perform 802.1x authentication and receive downloadable user roles from CPPM. Which configuration on CPPM is necessary to enable this feature? A. Export user roles from CPPM into an XML file for the switches to import. B. Create an administrator account for the switch on CPPM with user role download privileges. C. Configure radius enforcement profiles that include the HPE user role vendor-specific attribute, VSA. D. Upload the switch TPM certificate to CPPM as a trusted CA certificate under Others. The answer is C. When AOSCX switches integrate with ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, for 802.1x authentication, the downloadable user roles are communicated through radius enforcement profiles. These profiles must include the HPE user role VSA, vendor-specific attribute, so that the switch knows which role to apply. Exporting files, admin accounts, or TPM certificates are not part of this process. An AOSCX switch is configured with 802.1x authentication on edge ports. By default, the ports use the standard authentication mode. VoIP phones are authenticated into the voice role, and they must send voice traffic tagged for VLAN12. Where should VLAN12 be configured to ensure proper handling of this tagged traffic? A as the native VLAN on the edge ports and as the native VLAN in the voice role. B as an allowed trunk VLAN in the voice role only, not in the edge port configuration. C as an allowed trunk VLAN on the edge ports and the native VLAN in the voice role. D as the native VLAN in the voice role only, not in the edge port configuration. The answer is B. In 802.1x with downloadable roles, VLAN assignments, including voice VLANs, are not configured directly on the physical edge ports. Instead, VLANs are defined within the role that ClearPass or local configuration applies after authentication. For VoIP phones, VLAN 12 must be specified as an allowed trunk VLAN inside the voice role. This ensures the authenticated device can send tagged traffic without requiring VLAN configuration on the physical edge port. You configure a web-based health check service in ClearPass that references a posture policy. The service must trigger a radius change of authorization, COA, whenever a client is assigned a healthy or quarantine posture. Where are these COA rules defined? A. In a radius enforcement policy. B. In on-guard settings under agents and software updates. C. Inside the posture policy itself. D. In a WebAuth enforcement policy. The answer is A. Posture policies in ClearPass evaluate the client's health state, e.g., healthy, quarantine, unknown, but enforcement actions, such as sending a COA, change of authorization, to reassign the client, are configured in the radius enforcement policy. The posture policy provides the classification, while the enforcement policy applies the network action. On-guard settings only manage posture agents and updates, not enforcement. In a secure network authentication design, devices use the Online Certificate Status Protocol, OCSP, to validate digital certificates. What is a key benefit of using OCSP? A. It allows a device to validate a certificate without requiring root certificates to be installed. B. It allows a device to query the revocation status of a specific certificate in real time. C. It allows a device to download the entire certificate revocation list, CRL, from a CA. D. It allows a device to automatically renew its certificate before it expires. The answer is B. The Online Certificate Status Protocol, OCSP, improves certificate validation by allowing devices to check the revocation status of a single certificate directly with the Certificate Authority, CA. This is more efficient and timely than downloading large certificate revocation lists, CRLs. Root certificates are still required for trust, and certificate renewal is unrelated to OCSP. An enterprise integrates HPE Aruba Networking ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, with third-party solutions such as MDM platforms and firewalls. What is the primary benefit of this integration? CPPM can exchange contextual client information with third-party solutions, improving policy decisions. B. CPPM can enhance third-party solutions with signature-based threat detection. C. CPPM can delegate authentication policy decisions to third-party systems to speed up response time. DCPPM can handle internal traffic filtering so third-party systems can focus on external traffic. The answer is A. ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, supports integration with third-party systems like MDMs and firewalls through APIs and context sharing. This allows CPPM to share endpoint and user data, such as device health, compliance, or risk status, and receive updates in return, enabling richer, more dynamic access control decisions. It does not provide signature-based threat detection, offload filtering, or delegate core policy logic externally. You are creating a role mapping rule in HPE Aruba Networking ClearPass Policy Manager, CPPM, that uses a ClearPass Device Insight, CPDI, tag to classify devices. Which type, namespace, should you select for the rule? A. Endpoint. B. Tips. C. Device. D. Application. The answer is C. When creating role mapping rules that reference CPDI tags, the namespace, device, is used because the tags classify devices based on type, attributes, or context. The endpoint namespace relates to user endpoints but not CPDI-specific tags. Application refers to application context, and tips refers to threat intelligence protection system integration. Using the correct namespace ensures the role mapping policy applies the intended device-based access rules.